when I started doing stand-up in 2004, and I remember when I used to do shows, I wasn't getting paid for those shows. This was in the UK, I used to hold a small A4 sheet of paper afterwards and saying that if you enjoyed my work, you can donate towards this charity, and then I ended up having a few fundraiser nights with some very good comedians at the Comedy Store in London. This one here, which I'm wearing the t-shirt of. And then I think where the happiness project came from, firstly, it's not some kind of a fixed thing that I do. It's just the banner under which I take on initiatives which I think will bring joy to people who need it more than others. So one year I decided to do fundraising shows. Over 2 weeks, I did 7 gigs in 6 cities. We raised 45 lakhs for 10 different charities. And what I would do is I would partner with 2 charities on each of the shows. One was a larger charity that had the ability to organize the show and the resources. And the other half of the money would go to a smaller charity that didn't have the means to, do that. So the funds never came to me. It went sort of directly to them. So that was one. Then one year I decided to just have coffee conversations with people who needed somebody to talk to. We may have a lot of social media going on, but I find that people are lonely, and it helps to sometimes speak to a stranger because you don't want to sort of put the burdens of your pain on those closest to you. So I was just meeting random people in different cities and having conversations with them while I travel.
Just put it on social media. I'm available for a talk. How do you choose who you're speaking?
Yeah, so I put it on social media saying this is what the email address is. Happy to have these. The deal is that it will be in a time and location of my choosing in your city. I'll let you know. And I'll respond to you only if I can make it, because you get sort of more queries than you can do. So yeah, through social media. Then I started going into hospitals and homes of people who had been unwell for a long time, just to entertain them and their families. And I did cancer wards. I went to people's homes. I worked with terminally ill patients. One of the toughest gigs I did, I remember it. I mean, I was exhausted for 2 days. Somebody invited me to the home of a lady who had lost a 21-year-old boy, her son. And oh my God, so the whole family was there. And I was there for maybe 45 minutes, but I still remember it took the life and soul out of the amount of energy I had to put into it to try and bring some laughter there. It was exhausting. And then more recently, I went to a pediatric hospital in Noida, where I worked with kids from a cancer ward. And initially, I was worried about being able to do that show. And I was told the kids would be aged between sort of 5 to 14 years. When I got there, most of them were much younger than that. Now I'm not experienced when it comes to working with kids, but we did fine. We did 90 minutes together. We danced, we sang, we did laughter yoga. And the greatest joy, I think the kids, of course, had a wonderful time, but for their parents and carers and loved ones, to see children who are suffering so much laugh and joke and have fun after such a long time, I think that was really rewarding. So yeah, it's not a fixed project that happens all the time, but when I get the time, and if there are initiatives that I can do that can bring people joy, I like to be able to do that.
And are these designed by you, or a team that designs it and tells you that, okay, these are the options? What?
This is the team.
Okay. Okay.
This is the team.
But then how do you decide where to go and do it?
Oh, I think, to be honest, some of it is probably just convenience, because the challenge is there are so many people in need in so many different places. So sometimes it's just a case of where you are. 2, it's a case of somebody you really trust who recommends somebody that's doing good work, And I prefer working with sort of smaller outfits that don't have massive offices and funds and things like that. So there isn't a formula to it, or somebody writes to you and you kind of connect with their story. So yeah, there isn't a fixed thing. But the other thing that's really challenging is, and I don't understand why people say this. You'll do something for one initiative and they're like, oh, but why aren't you doing it for that? I'm like, hello, like, what are you doing? Why don't you do something for that? No, they won't think about that. So I think it's a little bit like that story of that kid walking on the beach with his father, and he's taking these fish and he's throwing them into the sea. And his father says, you can't save all the fish. He says, yeah, but I can save these ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's a case of, whatever you find within your
Yeah.
vicinity.
No, because just the joy on the faces of those little kids when you had shared it on, I think, LinkedIn and on Instagram, it was beautiful. Just that smile was so pure and so amazing. So, when you do these, what is one thing that you are grateful for at those times?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to just be there. I'm grateful that I'm able to bring them joy, because a lot of the times, I mean, I accept these things because I really want to do them, but I'm nervous as hell before I go there. Adults, no problem. I know how to work with adults, but when I'm working with kids, I don't have that experience. So in fact, this time around, when I was doing the one with the children in the cancer ward, I considered getting support for a second. I could have called a friend who was a magician, called somebody who works with kids, but I was like, no, this time I want to do it on my own, you know, to give myself the confidence that I can handle it. And so I did. And yeah, it went really well. If I was to do it again, would I have the confidence? Maybe a little bit more than the last time, but I'd still be nervous. You know.
Yeah. So, because I've been a storyteller with children, and
Yeah.
such a joy working with kids because
Yeah.
they're so real in a world that is full of people who are wearing so many masks that after a point they've even forgotten how many they're putting on.
Yeah.
Here is a world where there is no mask at all. And I think that is where the purity of intent plays a bigger role.
Yeah.
So